What does it say about President Trump when he refers to countries like Haiti, El Salvador and other countries in Africa as shithole countries?
Well, I suppose we'll start with the fact that he's denying having used that language. This is following a meeting in the Oval Office with some Democrats who had just been informed that they weren't getting an amnesty deal for illegal immigrants. So I'm not entirely sure of how reliable it is.
Well, he's denying the use of that language, but Democrat Dick Durbin has been a Democrat, has been in Congress for 20 years, said that President Trump did use that language. Are you saying that he's lying?
No, I'm just trying to put it in context for you. Personally, I hope he did use that language, Gamal. I think it shows a frankness, a willingness to have a conversation that isn't sort of varnished with political correctness. He wants to know why America has a big illegal immigration problem. Let's not forget the OECD puts out statistics every year, the United Nations, Transparency International, all the corruption indexes. They put out statistics every year that show that there are a handful of countries out there in the world that are pretty bad. I mean, you know, I don't want to use the word on air,
pretty
but
bad
you
is
can
very
describe them
different
as
to
what
describing a country as being a shithole.
Well, look, if you want me to, if you want me to say it, they are shitholes. You know, Gamal, it is the case. There's no getting around it, and he's not saying that they are because, you know, they're bad people there or anything like that. It might be due to corrupt regimes. It might be due to factors out of the control, environmental factors. There might be education problems there. But there are countries that you and I wouldn't want to go on holiday in and sun ourselves in, and I think that's what he's getting at. It shouldn't be shocking to anybody that there are horrible places in the world that are horrible for the people who live there to live. And instead of actually getting het up about the phrase used, maybe we've got to ask ourselves, why is Haiti in such a dire situation?
Is it appropriate that the United States President should use a phrase describing countries such as Haiti, El Salvador, or countries in Africa as shitholes? You think it's appropriate for a president of a country, a leader of a country, to use that term, to use that phrase?
Yeah, well, let's look at Barack Obama, who gave an interview. Let's look at what Barack Obama said about swearing in the Oval Office. He said it's a great thing for presidents to be able to do to relieve stress. Joe Biden, when the Obamacare legislation was passed, described it on live microphone as a big effing deal. So I think the level of appropriateness has already been set by Trump's predecessors on this one. So my answer is, yeah, it's perfectly fine.
You think it's fine that... I'm not talking about Barack Obama, I'm not talking about any other leaders.
Of course you're not.
We're talking about this president describing a country as a shithole country. You think that's fine?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
OK, what about President Trump saying that he's not going to come to the United Kingdom and open this embassy? What is your thoughts, your reflections on that?
Well...
Oh, have we lost him? Have we lost Raham? Oh, what a crying shame. Well, we will move on. We've just got a very brief statement, actually, regarding that story about President Trump not coming to the United Kingdom to open that embassy. Raham, are you back? Is he back?
Right here.
Smashing. I'd just like to get your thoughts on the fact that President Trump has said that he's not going to be coming to the United Kingdom to open the US embassy.
Yes, well, I don't blame him. You know, you have a situation whereby Sadiq Khan, as the mayor of London, has really been tub-thumping, trying to get President Trump not to attend, said multiple times he's not welcome in the capital, really fomenting a situation where you might have some riots or street protests if the president came to open that embassy. I think he should have come out and told the honest truth, which is that he doesn't particularly want to visit Sadiq Khan's London, which is the acid attack capital of the world per capita, where you have in the last year soaring knife crime, soaring burglary, soaring rape, soaring youth homicide, and Sadiq Khan seems to be concerning himself more with matters of state, which he isn't elected to do, than actually solving the situation of crime in London. And it is soaring, and I have to say this, and you'll excuse me for being churlish about it, but places like Sky News and the BBC and all the best and brightest journalists in the country are not covering this.
What do you mean?
Well,
every single day we are covering stories about whether it's knife crimes or attacks, where they happen up and down the country. What proof do you have?
So Gamal, well, the proof is, can you answer me? What's the at what rate did knife crime go up by in London last year?
I'm asking you. I'm interviewing you. What proof
I know.
do you have?
Well, I don't. It's not great with the shoes on the other foot. Do you know how much youth homicide went up by in London last year? Have you told your viewers that? 70%. Have you looked at the mayoral's police and crime report from December the 12th? You look at that, almost every single measure out of 42, only 4 of them in 4 categories did crime go down. In every single other area, double-digit rises in crime across London. So you know what, to borrow a phrase from Donald Trump, London's turning into a shithole under Sadiq Khan.
OK, I think we'll leave it there. Raheem Kassim, the editor for Breitbart, thanks for joining us this evening.
Cheers.
If we are going to condemn not just violent extremism, but also the extremism that seeks to justify violence in any way, it is very important that we do not back these people and we do not appear on platforms with them. And I have to say, I am concerned about Labour's candidate as Mayor of London, who has appeared again and again and again. Well, the leader of the Labour Party, is saying it's disgraceful. Let me tell him. Right, so, Suleiman Ghani, the honourable member for Tooting, has appeared on a platform with him 9 times. This man supports IS. He even shared a platform. Well, Mr. Speaker, I think they are shouting down this point because they don't want to hear the truth. Anyone can make a mistake about who they appear on a platform with. We're not always responsible for what our political opponents say. But if you do it time after time after time, it is right to question your judgment.
People across the northwest will have seen more and more police officers on their streets as a result of last week's attack. But since 2010, your government has reduced police numbers by 2,000 in Greater Manchester and 19,000 across the country. A simple question: if you are still Prime Minister for a week on Thursday, will we see police numbers cut even further?
We're putting more money into our security and intelligence agencies, uplifting our armed police resources as well.
The Labour Party say they will fund 10,000 more police officers across the country. Will you promise as well to increase the number of police officers in the northwest and across the country?
What we have done is protected counter-terrorism policing. We're protecting police budgets. But it's not just about the number of police officers that you have. It's actually also about the powers that those officers have. We have ensured, working with the police, that we have given them increased powers to deal with these issues of terrorism. I was Home Secretary, oversaw the Investigatory Powers Act coming into fruition, becoming an Act of Parliament. It's important that we ensure that our police and security services have the powers they need. My opposite number has boasted that he's opposed anti-terror legislation since he came into Parliament over 30 years ago.
You mentioned your role as Home Secretary. Police budgets were cut 4% year on year. The number of officers went down and have continued to fall. Today, Ian Hopkins, the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, said it's increasingly difficult to carry out neighbourhood policing. Andy Burnham has warned that the cut to GMP's budget has made Manchester more vulnerable. Steve White, the chair of the Police Federation, said that soldiers are on the streets because police cannot cope with terror attacks. They are crying out for more funding. Can you guarantee they will get more funding?
The reason that people saw soldiers assisting police was to give reassurance. It's a long-standing plan that we have that when the threat level is raised to critical, then that support is available to the police, and the police will take an operational decision as to whether they wish to exercise that, which they did for the period of time when the threat level was at critical. We have protected counter-terrorism policing budgets. We're protecting police budgets. But actually, as we look at what has happened in policing, the way that we deal with crime changes as crime changes. That's why we created the National Crime Agency to deal with serious and organised crime. We're putting more money into cybercrime, supporting the police in their ability to deal with those new forms of crime that are now being seen. We are ensuring that the police have the resources they need to deal with the challenges of crime and with the threats that we face as a country. But it's not just about money and resources, it's about the powers that they need as well. It's me and my party and my team who have been committed to ensuring that our police and security services have the powers that they need in dealing with the terrorist threat. Jeremy Corbyn has boasted that he's opposed anti-terror legislation since he came into Parliament.
But you cannot guarantee that police numbers will not go down. You cannot guarantee they will stay the same as they are now.
We ensure that we have the policing and the security services, that they have the resources that they need to deal with crime and to deal with the terrorist threat. But we also ensure that they have the powers that they need to do that job. The Greater Manchester Police did an excellent job in dealing with responding to the horrific attack that took place in Manchester, as did the emergency services, our NHS staff, our security service. We should thank them for the wonderful job that they did and continue to do in the aftermath.
Well, police in London say they're investigating the fatal stabbings of 4 young men overnight. Detectives say the incidents took place in the north, the east and south of the city and are all unrelated. Well, 5 men have been arrested in connection with the murder in Enfield. And we're joined now by Peter Kirkman, who's a former senior investigating officer at the Metropolitan Police. Good evening to you. Is this particularly rare that 4 men have been killed in one single night?
It's unusual for 4 to die. Sadly, it's anything but unusual for a number of stabbings to happen on the same night. That is now absolutely typical of a Friday and Saturday night across London. I hate to think what the death toll would be if it weren't for the great skills of the ambulance service, the helicopter medics and the A&E departments. It is horrendous out there.
Do you think there's a reason that such horrific events like this are happening?
Yeah, the reason is very obvious. Theresa May has cut the police service so that there are no longer police officers on the street and the control of public space has been lost. This is just one symptom of that. There are numerous others. Deaths on the road are rising because road traffic police are going. Shoplifting's going through the roof because there are no police officers to deal with that. Antisocial behaviour is getting out of control again because there are no neighbourhood officers. The moped crime epidemic, there are no officers out there, and those that are out there aren't allowed to pursue. It is very simple. It is entirely down to Theresa May and her cuts to the police. She has the blood of these young people on her hands.
I suppose her argument would be that the role of policing has changed a lot in recent years because now there is the ongoing threat of extremism and terrorism. And of course that was something that she looked into for the New Year celebrations because it was heightened, wasn't it?
Theresa May has been Home Secretary and then Prime Minister for the last nearly 8 years now. She is entirely responsible for this state of affairs. She has refused consistently to listen to professional police officers that have told her that crime and the demands on policing have changed. They haven't gone away. They have changed. Last night, we saw, I'm told, 3,000 armed officers drawn into central London to police the New Year's Eve celebrations. Those officers haven't come from somewhere else. They have come from elsewhere in London. They are not a magic box full of officers just brought out for the night. That means there are fewer officers elsewhere. It is no surprise to me to hear that stabbings took place in the suburbs and not in the centre of London where all the police officers were drawn to last night. There are too few police officers to keep the public safe. She has been told that repeatedly and she is ignoring it. It is criminal. This government, they just seem to be ignoring everything. I really don't understand why they are not treating this as the emergency that it is. It is a public disaster happening in slow motion in front of our eyes. If these young people were white and they were on the streets of Maidenhead in her constituency and in Windsor, there would be an utter uproar. It would not be ignored. This is institutional racism at the heart of government. It is as simple as that. And unfortunately, the demographics of inner cities are not white and well-off. They are poor and black and minority ethnic. There is institutional racism at the heart of this government, and that, I think, is the source of the problem.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the Commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.